My wife cheated with a rich man. He dumped her. I rebuilt myself. I'm David, 48, married to Laura, 46, for over 20 years. We've got 2 kids, both grown now, out of the house, doing their own thing. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I would have said we had a solid, if unremarkable, marriage. Not perfect, but steady. Here's the truth though, we got married because she got pregnant. It wasn't some grand romance. Laura was ordinary. Short, thin, always tired. She kept her hair cropped short, barely wore makeup, worked long hours as an elementary school teacher, and spent most of our marriage looking like she was one coffee away from collapsing. Life was tough. First pregnancy nearly killed her. Then her mom got sick, and she took care of her. Then we had our second son. Then her dad got sick. It felt like every year was another crisis. She was always exhausted, always running from work to caregiving to parenting. I thought that was just who she was, this tired little bird fluttering around, holding the house together with sheer willpower. And then, everything changed. The kids left for college. Both her parents passed away. For the first time in her adult life, she wasn't weighed down. And suddenly it was like a switch flipped. Her hair, which had started graying, turned this shimmering silver, like something out of a fashion magazine. She grew it long. She started dressing better, silk blouses, dresses, jewelry I didn't buy. She walked taller, like she owned every room. One night my buddy saw her at the grocery store and said to me later, "David, I never noticed before, but your wife's actually a beauty." It was weird. For 20 years, she was invisible to everyone. Suddenly, she was radiant. An aristocrat. At first, I thought maybe she was just finding herself. But then the lies started. And that's where it all began to fall apart. At first, I was proud of her. After 20 years of sacrifice, she deserved to feel alive again. I told myself, good for her. She's finally taking care of herself. But the changes didn't stop at haircuts and new clothes. Laura suddenly had a social life. She joined a book club, then an art appreciation society, then some charity group I'd never heard of. Every other night it seemed like she was out with the ladies. She started carrying herself differently, too. Before, she'd slouch at the kitchen table, correcting kids' spelling tests. Now she came home late, her perfume clinging to the air, her cheeks flushed like she'd been laughing all night. When I asked who she was with, she'd snap. "Don't interrogate me, David. You never cared before, so why now? You were always fine with me being invisible, now you're jealous?" That's dumb. Because she wasn't wrong, I had taken her for granted in some ways. But the venom in her voice was new. My sister, Megan, noticed too. She pulled me aside at a family cookout and whispered, "Laura's different. You should keep an eye out, Dave." I brushed it off. I didn't want to believe my wife of 20 years could be hiding something. But then I found the scarf. And everything shifted. It was a Wednesday night. Laura had left her work bag on the dining table, half open. Normally I don't snoop, I'm not that guy, but something caught my eye. A scarf. Not the cheap kind you grab at Target, but silk. Deep burgundy with gold threading. The kind of thing you see in those glossy boutiques downtown. Laura never bought things like that. Not in 20 years of marriage. And it sure as hell wasn't from me. I picked it up, and that's when I noticed the scent. Expensive cologne. Musky. Definitely not hers. When she came home later, I asked casually, "Hey, where'd this scarf come from?" She froze for a fraction of a second, just long enough to give her away. Then she snatched it from my hands. "Oh, that? It's a gift. From a colleague. You wouldn't understand." I raised an eyebrow. "A colleague?" Her tone went sharp like a whip. "Yes, David. People give each other gifts sometimes. Maybe if you paid more attention to me over the years, you'd know what I like." And just like that, she stormed off, leaving me standing there with my stomach in knots. For the first time in 2 decades, I realized I didn't know my wife anymore. And I had a feeling I wasn't going to like who she'd become. About a week after the scarf incident, I got a call from my old buddy Chris. We've known each other since high school. He's the kind of guy who doesn't mince words. "Dave," he said, "I saw Laura last night." "Yeah?" I asked, thinking maybe he ran into her at the grocery store. "She wasn't at any book club. She was at that new gallery opening downtown. And she wasn't alone." My stomach dropped. "Who was she with?" Chris hesitated, then said, "Victor. You know, that guy who got rich flipping properties after his divorce. Older, tall, always in those custom suits. The one who thinks he's God's gift to women." I went silent. Chris added, "Look, man, maybe it was innocent. But they didn't look like colleagues. Or friends." After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table for what felt like hours. Victor. I knew of him. Smooth, wealthy, the kind of man Laura used to scoff at. And yet now she was on his arm, smiling at art shows while I sat home eating leftovers. I told myself Chris might have been mistaken. Maybe it was just business. Maybe I was paranoid. But deep down I knew. The aristocrat my wife had become? She hadn't built that life alone. A few nights later, Laura came home late again. I was sitting in the living room with the TV on mute, just waiting. She walked in, humming, her silver hair pinned up, wearing a dress I'd never seen before, low-cut, elegant, the kind of thing that screamed romantic dinner. Not faculty meeting. Long night at the book club? I asked. She froze for a second, then gave me this fake smile. Yeah. We were discussing Pride and Prejudice. The girls didn't want to stop talking. I stood up and walked over, holding out her phone. Funny. Because Megan texted me earlier. Said she saw you downtown? At the wine bar. With Victor. Her face drained of color, then flushed red. She grabbed the phone from my hand. So now you're having your sister spy on me? Jesus, David, how pathetic are you? It's not spying when you're parading around in public. I shot back. Answer me, are you seeing him? She looked me dead in the eyes, and instead of denying it, she sneered. Maybe I am. What are you gonna do about it? Sit here like you always have, invisible in your own life? Her words hit harder than any punch. And in that moment I knew I wasn't dealing with the tired, overworked woman I married. This was someone else entirely. Someone cruel. I couldn't hold back anymore. 20 years of swallowing my words boiled over. You've been lying to me, Laura. Sneaking around with him while I'm sitting here like a fool. After everything we went through, the kids, your parents, the late nights, you throw it all away for a guy in a designer suit? She crossed her arms, lips curled in that smug little smirk I'd never seen on her before. Don't act so shocked, David. We got married because I got pregnant. You never loved me for me. You just wanted a family and a caretaker. Well, I've been that for 20 years. I'm done being invisible. I shook my head, stunned. Invisible? You think I didn't see you? I was here every damn day, working, raising kids, taking care of this house with you. I gave you my life. She laughed. Laughed. You gave me a paycheck and a roof. Victor gives me attention. He sees me, David. He makes me feel alive. Her words cut me to pieces. For 20 years I thought we were partners. Turns out, I was just the safe option. The placeholder until she became someone new. I wanted to scream, to break something, but all I managed was, "You're destroying everything we built." Her reply? Cold as ice. Maybe it was never worth building. And just like that, she walked out of the room, leaving me in the wreckage of my own marriage. That night, I sat in the dark kitchen with a glass of bourbon, staring at the wall while her words echoed in my head. Maybe it was never worth building. 20 years. 2 kids. A house full of memories. Were they all just placeholders? Was I just the safe guy she settled for until someone shinier came along? I thought about our first years, her swollen belly, her tears during the hard pregnancy, me holding her hand through every doctor's appointment. I thought about the late nights when she graded papers while I rocked our crying son to sleep. I thought about her sitting by her mother's hospital bed, and me making casseroles for weeks so she wouldn't have to worry about food. None of that mattered now. None of it counted. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I was hollow. My mom called the next day and asked if I was okay, said my voice sounded empty. I told her I was just tired from work. I couldn't bear to tell her that her daughter-in-law, the woman she'd welcomed into our family, was tearing me apart. Megan stopped by and saw me sitting in my own mess, unshaven, unshowered. She put her hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Dave, you have to stop letting her do this to you." But I didn't know how. It felt like she had already won. A couple days later, I caught myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the man staring back, bloodshot eyes, stubble, slouched shoulders. I looked like someone who'd already given up. And that's when it hit me, she wanted me like this. Broken. Weak. Easy to dismiss while she paraded around with Victor. No. Not happening. That night, I cleaned myself up, shaved, and went for a long run. My knees screamed, my lungs burned, but with every step, I felt a little more like myself. The part of me that had been asleep for years was waking up. I also called an old buddy who works as a PI. Told him I needed proof, photos, texts, anything. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Give me a week." Meanwhile, I played the part of the clueless husband. I smiled when she came home late, acted impressed when she mentioned faculty meetings, even poured her a glass of wine while she texted God knows who under the table. Inside, though, I was sharpening the blade. She thought she was living a double life, elegant and untouchable. But I was about to show her how fast an aristocrat can fall. A week later, the PI slid a manila envelope across the table at a quiet diner. "Everything you need's in there," he said. "Brace yourself." I opened it and felt my stomach twist. Photos of Laura and Victor, hand in hand at the gallery, kissing outside a restaurant, slipping into a hotel together. Receipts from expensive dinners, hotel bookings, even jewelry. Texts where she told him things like, "David never really saw me. You do. I feel alive when I'm with you." One message gutted me. "Once the kids are fully out of the picture, we won't have to sneak around anymore." So this wasn't just an affair. This was a plan. A future without me. The PI looked at me and said, "Sorry, man. She's all in with this guy." I nodded, numb. But beneath the numbness was something else, clarity. I wasn't going to confront her in private, where she could twist the story, cry, and make me the bad guy. No. I was going to burn her mask off in front of everyone who thought she was this elegant, reborn woman. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Our younger son, Ethan, was back from college for a weekend, and my mom insisted we do a family dinner. Laura was thrilled. She loved playing the role of the elegant matriarch in front of everyone. I let her. She wore a new dress, silver hair gleaming, laughing at my dad's stories, pouring wine like nothing was wrong. She looked untouchable. When the plates were cleared, I stood up and said, "I want to make a toast. To 20 years of marriage, 2 amazing kids, and..." I pulled the manila envelope from under my chair. "To honesty." Laura's smile froze. I laid the photos on the table, one by one. Her kissing Victor. Holding his hand. Walking into a hotel. My mom gasped. Ethan pushed back his chair. My older son, Chris, muttered, "Oh my God, Mom!" Laura stammered, "David, stop this! This is a lie, someone set me up." I cut her off. "Don't. Everyone can see the truth. This is who you've been while telling me you were at book clubs and faculty meetings." The room went dead silent except for my father's voice, hard as stone. "You disgust me." Laura broke then, crying, begging, insisting Victor meant nothing. But the mask was gone. The aristocrat was exposed. And for once, I wasn't the invisible man. After that dinner, there was no coming back. The kids wouldn't even look at her. My mom told me quietly, "Son, it's time to let her go." So I called a lawyer. With the PI's evidence, it was straightforward. Proof of infidelity meant she'd walk away empty-handed. No alimony, no claim to the house I'd worked my ass off to pay for. When the papers were served, Laura stormed into the house, eyes blazing. "You think you can just erase 20 years like that? After everything I gave up for you?" I kept my voice calm. "You didn't give it up for me. You gave it up because life was hard. And instead of building with me, you tore it down with him." That's when she showed her true colors again, spitting venom. "You'll die alone, David. Who's going to want you now? A washed-up husband with nothing interesting to offer." I slid the envelope of photos across the counter. "Not me. Not anymore. But I'll be just fine." The divorce went through in record time. She fought at first, but every fight crumbled against the proof. In the end, she walked away with nothing but bitterness. And me? For the first time in decades, I walked away free. Not long after the divorce papers were signed, word got around town. It wasn't just our family who knew, neighbors, friends, even some of Laura's colleagues heard the story. The elegant reborn aristocrat had been unmasked as a cheater. And Victor? The man she'd risked it all for? He didn't stick around. Turns out, he liked the affair when it was glamorous and secret. He liked sneaking her into hotels, showing her off at gallery openings, whispering about how unappreciated she was. But when the scandal hit, when people whispered behind their backs and the shine wore off, he bolted. One of Laura's coworkers told Megan they saw her at a cafe, alone, looking hollow. No jewelry, no Victor, just a bitter shell of the woman who once strutted into rooms like she owned them. When I heard that, I felt nothing. Not joy, not pity. Just nothing. She had chosen him. She had chosen betrayal. And in the end, he chose himself. Exactly the way cheaters always do. With Laura gone and the dust settling, I finally had space to breathe. At first, I didn't know what to do with myself. For 20 years, my life had revolved around kids, obligations, and keeping the household together. But slowly, I started rediscovering me. I bought a decent road bike and started cycling in the mornings. At first, I thought my legs would give out after 10 miles, but every week I pushed further. The fresh air, the sweat, the silence, it became therapy. I signed up for a cooking class, too. I'd always been the grill guy, at family barbecues, but now I was learning to make actual meals, Italian, Thai, even baking. My mom said she hadn't seen me this alive in years. I reconnected with friends I'd drifted away from. Beer nights, fishing trips, poker games, stuff I'd let go of during the grind of family life. And the craziest part? I started feeling confident again. Not because of anyone else, but because I was building a life on my own terms. For the first time in decades, I wasn't living in Laura's shadow. I was living in my own light. It was a Sunday afternoon when my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in months. Against my better judgment, I answered. It was Laura. Her voice was shaky, nothing like the sharp, bitchy tone she'd used the last time we spoke. "David, I made a mistake. Victor's gone. He wasn't who I thought he was. I don't want to throw away everything we had. Maybe we can try again." I almost laughed. Almost. "You called me invisible," I said. "You told me what we built wasn't worth it. You humiliated me in front of our kids. And now, because your little prince dumped you, you come crawling back?" She sniffled, her voice breaking. I was confused. I thought I wanted more, but it was nothing. "You're the one who really cared about me." I felt nothing but clarity. "No, Laura. I cared. You didn't. And now you're reaping what you sowed." Before she could respond, I hung up. Blocked her number for good. That was the last time I ever heard her voice. And the first time I truly felt free. It's been over a year since everything came crashing down, and I can honestly say I'm not the same man I was. Laura's betrayal almost broke me. 20 years of my life felt like they'd been reduced to ashes in a matter of months. I spiraled, questioned myself, wondered if I had ever been enough. But here's the thing, I came out stronger. What I've learned. Cheating isn't about you, it's about them. Laura didn't cheat because I wasn't good enough. She cheated because she was selfish enough to chase excitement at the expense of loyalty. Revenge doesn't need to be loud. I didn't scream, I didn't fight. I let the truth expose her. And it destroyed her far worse than any shouting match could. Your life isn't over after betrayal. I rebuilt. Found hobbies, reconnected with people who cared about me, and started living for myself. And you know what? Life feels bigger now. My mom told me something after the divorce that stuck. She thought she was finding freedom. Instead, she lost everything. You, on the other hand, found yourself. And she was right. So if you're reading this and you're sitting in the dark like I was, wondering how someone could hurt you like that, know this, you're stronger than you think. Betrayal isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning. My wife of 20 years reinvented herself after the kids grew up, then cheated on me with a rich divorce. I gathered proof, exposed her in front of the family, divorced her, and rebuilt my life. He dumped her, she came crawling back, and I shut the door. Now I'm happier than I ever was with her. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.